Bill, thanks so much for your time today. Let's compare your current self to your former self. How's your approach to coaching changed over this period, and are there any messages that you'd pass on to the current generation?
My coaching has changed tremendously. I started my coaching career in Mount Isa, where I knew very little but had great passion. I moved to Brisbane and I coached in Brisbane at Corina Club, and then also as Director of Coaching for Queensland, and then onto the AIS, and then of course back to Hong Kong where I coached internationally, and then back to Australia as the National Youth Coach to help Don with the Sydney Olympics, and then from that to Britain, and then from Britain into Spain, and then now of course into Singapore and Argentina. Every time that I made the move from one location to the other, I found my coaching improved dramatically. That the learning was steep, challenging, and I had to move my coaching knowledge a step further. So when I first started coaching, I was fortunate in the first couple of years, the first 5 years anyway, that I got tremendous experience. I got to coach Stephen Holland, world records, Tracy Wickham, world records. So I had great experience, but very little knowledge. I thought I had knowledge, but I didn't. It was assumed knowledge. And only after a period of time, by changing locations and cultures and environments, did I actually gain, and a study, an education, did I actually gain a nice balance between knowledge and experience. So I started off with experience and then my knowledge grew. Nowadays, coaches, because of the accreditation system and the schemes, can gain knowledge before they get experience. And that's a much, much, much better way to go. So gain knowledge first and then get the experience. I had the opposite. Some would think that was a better way, but it wasn't. Because there were mistakes early in my coaching career that I could have done better, but I didn't have that knowledge. So I was an experience-led coach where I had to do a catch-up game of knowledge, but I did. So self-education was a very important part of my early years of coaching. And the positive side was every single time that I changed, one of the things that's very clear, I'm going to my 11th Olympic Games, and no two Olympics are the same. There's no Olympics are the same. What exists in one Olympics, you can't just take that as the 100% experience for the next one. Each situation will change. So your knowledge has to be ongoing. If you stop learning and your knowledge stops, even if your experience grows, you will plateau off. So I think continual knowledge and the accruement of knowledge is vital to improvement in coaching. Coaching, when I talk coaching for me is neck up, training is physical neck down. So.
Fantastic. You've worked extensively in other sports and beyond swimming, and perhaps even in the corporate world, I believe at one stage. What do you believe has been constant to success throughout your various roles?
In the corporate world, and I still do a lot of work in the corporate world and do other sports. I work with a young lady called Lisa Alexander very closely in netball, and she's a tremendous coach. She's the only person, and she has the best coaching record, she's the only person in netball that was never an Australian representative. So her coaching, she didn't bring experience with her from a national level player. So every opportunity I get to work outside the swimming industry or the sporting industry is very important, because the ruthlessness of the corporate world is something that sport doesn't really understand, but the human growth factor of swimming and swim coaching is something the corporate world doesn't learn. So you have to expose yourself to as many environments as possible where high performance is a treasured attribute. And high performance in the corporate world has similarities to the sporting world and vice versa, but they are different and they take a different mindset. So I would advise coaches, wherever you are, to try and expose yourself to knowledge outside of swimming, outside of the swimming world. Go and learn from either the corporate world or other sporting events or anything that is high performance, you'll have relative transfer of knowledge and transfer of experience.
Okay. Bill, some people may still be unaware that you're essentially closing the curtains on your coaching career after the 2016 Rio Olympics. You've been a source of inspiration for myself and I'm sure many others in the swimming industry. So on behalf of the swimming industry, I'd like to thank you for everything that you've given to us and I'm sure many other countries around the world. But hindsight's a wonderful thing, and I'm sure there are some things that you would have done differently and you have reflected on some of those things. But are there any final messages that you'd like to pass on to the next generation of coaches?
I think the key for coaching is self-belief and empathy for the athlete. I'm sure that in my early years of coaching, I didn't have the same amount of empathy for the athlete that I have now. You tend to be a replica of what the environment you grew up in, and I was, which was a hard, unrelenting, black and white atmosphere, no grey area. I've learnt that compromise is the cancer of achievement. Every time I've compromised, it's come back to hurt me or the athletes that I'm coaching. So if I was going to advise any young coach today, my advice would be to go and do a unit or a degree in psychology. Become the athlete's best psychologist. I tell athletes that I work with today, I say, never ever will I be your best friend, but I will always be your greatest supporter. My people ask me, well, what do you want to do in coaching? And I basically say, I want to grow people. I want to go to the athletes I coached, I want to go to their wedding.
Yeah.
I want to have that journey that takes them from learn to swim to their wedding.
Yeah.
So I want to grow them as people.
Yeah.
I didn't always want to do that, but I've learned over time that you have to grow the person, coach the person, train the event and develop skills, but life skills as well as coaching and training skills. So my advice to young people who are going into the coaching industry, that it's a fantastic industry. You can't do a better job than to grow a human being into an adult, not only in sport but in life. So if you get that chance and that opportunity, I think the longest term possible in the sport and outside the sport. So if you can coach someone until they get married, you've done a pretty good job.
Fantastic. All right, well, thanks so much for your time today, Bill, and keep an eye out for more videos from ASCTA.